Watoto wa Goma, munataka tuishie hapa? Munataka tuende wapi? Munataka tuende wapi?
Well, Kinshasa has activated what many are terming as the balkanization of Congo. Because right now, goods that are coming from Goma or Bukavu will have to pay import duties as if they are coming from another country. And that is not all. Kinshasa has also rejected exports coming from areas under the M23. And this goes even further because the government in Kinshasa has asked other countries not to consider goods from Goma and Bukavu as coming from Congo. Well, the M23 has given its response to this economic suffocation that Kinshasa has put on Eastern DRC. Because the M23 has released a communique pointing to the direction that it is set to launch a new bank to restore financial services in Eastern DRC. Well, many analysts out there are saying that the move by Kinshasa to cause economic suffocation in Eastern DRC was a totally wrong move, and it is playing to the game of the M23. And not only M23, but also Uganda and Rwanda are set to benefit from this economic suffocation that Kinshasa has installed on Eastern DRC. Well, that is what I'm going to talk about in this video. This is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the DRC crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, the conflict in Eastern DRC is getting more complex by the day because far from the artillery and shelling and bullets and mechanical fighting that is happening in Eastern DRC, we are now entering a new phase of economic wars between Eastern DRC and Kinshasa, the government of the DRC. Because right now, the government in Kinshasa has decided to suffocate Eastern DRC economically. And that is a different war that they are waging against M23. Perhaps their aim is to make the people to revolt against the M23 in Goma and Bukavu because the economic suffocation that Kinshasa is waging against the M23 control zone are very powerful. Regardless, the M23 has strived to make the lives of people in Eastern DRC bearable so that they can continue to have that public support that they so dearly need. We have been seeing different communiques from the M23 trying to tell the banks that were operating in Eastern DRC, and I'm going to mention the banks that have since closed, that they should continue to serve the people of Eastern DRC. But the control of all these banks is at the center, that is the government of Congo, controlled in Kinshasa. And if the government has not given an assent for that bank branch to open, then it is not possible because the central bank is in Kinshasa. And therefore, the economic blockade by Kinshasa has caused great economic, social, and humanitarian suffering in the cases where the M23 is controlling these major towns. But the M23 has decided to also counter the kind of moves that are coming from Kinshasa. And the M23 has decided now to launch a new bank that will service Eastern DRC, the both northern and southern Kivu, where the M23 control Goma and Bukavu. And this is a totally new ballgame when you're talking about the conflict in Eastern DRC, because first we saw the M23 installing the governor and administrative positions in Eastern DRC, the two provinces where they control. And that was a new move, despite the fact that the DRC, or Kinshasa, if we can call the government Kinshasa, has decided to put the center of Southern Kivu to be at Uvira. They have tried as much as possible to move all administrative positions of Southern Kivu to be in Uvira, and they have armed Uvira, they have militarized Uvira so that they can control Southern Kivu from there. And they are saying that if you're not getting the services that we are offering in different parts of North Kivu or South Kivu, come to Uvira so that you can get these services. That is in one way the DRC saying that we have our center here and we are operating just normally as we would have been operating if the M23 was not there. But we cannot assume the fact that the M23 already has Goma and Bukavu, and that is a considerable population. And this population needs services. And the M23 knows that without services, they're not going to get support, they're not going to get the intelligence that they need. And that is the reason as to why they are now launching a new bank in Eastern DRC, the bank that they call the Bank of Kivu. Well, and the process of activating this bank to work seems to be top in the list of the priorities of the M23 because they are saying that towards the end of this month, that bank should be operational and it will be working alongside other banks to help it to serve the people of South and North Kivu in Goma and Bukavu. Well, it is important to note that the banks that have since been closed in Eastern DRC include Bank, Trust Merchant Bank, Equity Bank, Sophie Bank, EcoBank, Bank of Africa, Access Bank, and BDEGL. And the Bank of Kivu that now will be opened by the M23 is said to be working in coordination with the following banks: the Bank of Kigali, KCB Bank, and CRDB Bank. And this will enable it to have smoother cross-border trade and financial stability. And the M23 has also noted that now this bank, because it will be operating in a war zone, it will promote digital banking so that people could have the freedom of accessing their money wherever they are without actually having to go physically to the bank to get their monies. So that is the strategy that the M23 is having in countering the economic blockade in Eastern DRC, because now the DRC, through Kinshasa now, has made it very difficult for the M23 to govern Northern and Southern Kivu without the financial instruments that they need. People do not have access to money, businesses have collapsed, salaries went unpaid, and trade with neighboring countries was severely disrupted because of this economic blockade that Kinshasa put on Eastern DRC, on the regions that have been taken by the M23. Well, and as I said earlier, many are saying that this is a wrong move from Kinshasa because now it is giving independence, financial independence to Eastern DRC. We know that now there is some form of territorial independence because right now the administrative positions have been allocated by the M23. They are saying that they are the ones in charge. They are coordinating what happens in Northern and Southern Kivu through their official administrative positions in Goma and Bukavu. And right now, what the Congolese government has done in Kinshasa is to give the M23 the financial freedom, although it will be very difficult to integrate everything very fast as they promised to do by the end of this month. This gives them the financial independence that they need so that they can be able to control fully Eastern DRC. And this will also make Eastern DRC, the systems in Eastern DRC, to be more inclined to work with Uganda and Rwanda and countries neighboring to the east, because right now they will have the banks, as I said earlier, this new bank that the M23 is launching will work closely with the Bank of Kigali to make sure that it is working better. So it means that trade within the Eastern DRC provinces, the two main provinces of Eastern DRC, with countries to the east are going to be better than they were before, as the Eastern DRC regions were dependent on Kinshasa. And that is not something that Kinshasa wants right now. It doesn't want an independent Eastern DRC because an independent DRC will seek further independence and perhaps seek to leave the DRC to form its own separate governing system. Well, we'll wait to see what plan Kinshasa has in now fighting the war in Eastern DRC, even as they are militarizing Uvira, as I said earlier. The economic integration between Eastern DRC and countries to the east are going to be even better now that they have been left to only survive on their own and with the help of these countries that are neighboring these two provinces of Eastern DRC.